like a reinforcement day for me where I'm just really going to just stay focused on making sure I'm just performing my tasks the best that I can. And so like you can see here, I'm in on MBT. I got short pretty close to the open because I was at the line. And so for me, I actually wish I had waited a little while. Now that I'm looking at the BS detector, I got in when we were lightly buying, but I like that we were lightly buying. But then if I'd have waited for us to start selling and then let it offer and then picked it up while it was selling, I could have gotten this whole move without really having to sit in this trade for that long. So, I'm keeping that in mind. You know what I mean? I'm still working on perfecting the use of the BSD. Now, the fun thing I want to talk about, so for the past 15 minutes, I've been in a meeting with Bruz because we think we've figured out how to link the BSD into the calls. So, I had kind of an idea and I sent it to Bruz and it might be possible, no promises, but basically making it so that so for instance here the criteria to call the trigger would be that we hit the line and at the time we hit the line we are selling, right? So or within that or within we may switch to a proximity of the line to make this work a little bit better. But you could see like we were hitting the line and selling right here. We had started in drop selling. So or we're gonna say maybe not selling, but have sold recently or something. We got to still figure out the metrics of it. But basically, this really shouldn't have called till like right in here. But and then if you'd have waited for it to offer, it ended up being a pretty nice little move there. So YM had an issue on this call that this system would have prevented the call from. So we were lightly buying here, right? But it wasn't steady buying, it was quite light buying. So I was waiting to take this position when I saw heavy buying. Like I was waiting to see this thing. I was just waiting, like if this candle right here had high volume on it and then like wicked down and then closed with like a hammer, and that would have taken this back up into buying, I probably would have hit that new 1 minute high pretty hard. But because I watched this move up, and as it moved up, the volume just really wasn't working. I just wasn't quite ready. You know what I mean? For me on this one, and I have to admit I'm being a little bit more reluctant just to hit hard. So I kind of hung for a second and then it responded with a big sell bar and I was like and we went under the level. And at that point I was just like, well, now I got to wait for it to get above the level. And by the time it did that, I was already in another trade and I wasn't really willing to look at this. But when I looked at micro Bitcoin, it alerted and I love that it had a really stuffed buy right at the beginning. Like if this thing wanted to go up, it could have went up right at the open. You know what I mean? Like they had a lot of buying come in and it didn't go anywhere. And then as they moved up and offered its high, we deviated in volume, which made me like it that much more. We had two large buys, but both of those buys were under and they didn't really, again, so much volume. Like, why not explode? So it just brought us right back into value, right at the cam level. And that made me like it even more. Now, I don't know when or where or how we figured this out, but my stop obviously was right above the top of the stop box. And this thing wicked right up to the underneath of the stop box. So I was pretty sure I was done on this one. But then it held and came back down. And I was like, oh crap. And then this big sell happened and we started selling. And I was like, well, thank God. There's what I've been waiting for all day, basically, right? So now the question is, could I have just, you know, maybe I should have just waited for that. But I want to kind of take a moment maybe, and then I'm going to get more into the BSD on a couple more things. Um, I really want to talk about the concept of range trading. Okay, because I think at times there because we have some overlap. Oh, cool. Hold on a second. Because there's some overlap in our community, right? Dr. V uses more of like a trend line concept, which is really more of a price direction concept, right? and mine is almost a complete range-based concept, right? And those two concepts do, when they align, create incredibly powerful moves. But when they don't align, right, they need to be treated within their individual purviews, right? So like if you are trying to trend trade, right, then you need to trend trade, right? And make sure you're kind of following the rules from that. Now, when that aligns with cams, I think that can be very good. But also, if you're a cam trader, you need to make sure you're a cam trader, right? Because like I've already seen a couple folks post in there that they cut this trade because it broke the short-term trend, right? But I don't see a trend at all in this one, right? This was just a range play, right? There was, I guess maybe we're talking about this right here, maybe when it dropped and then came back up and then back up, or maybe this one here. Like we can't, this play doesn't have anything to do with trends. It has to do with ranges, right? So I'm going to go out of this because we've started buying. And if we make a new high above this where we've lost these orders here, there's just no reason for me to be in this anymore, right? So I'm just going to get out. You know what I mean? Because at some point in time, I'm really just don't have enough expectation. Oh, let's see. Cool. Yeah. So for me, so I'm working more, Hanson, on the BSD rules. So right now I'm still kind of going off of my old rule set because I haven't had enough time with the BSD to say, is it consistent enough that I can just make this decision on it? You know what I mean? So, but for me, it's the cams are what saved my life. You know what I mean? But are there periods of time when the cams do not work? Yes. You know, that is certainly going to be very true. Right. But there are also days where and this has happened this month. I went back and looked, there's been 3 or 4 days where we've had 3 or 4 cam calls that have all happened all on the same day. And if you had taken any one of them, you would have made money that day. Right. So the question is, when you go back through your charts and you see there's red days and green days, did your red days follow the rules? Right. If your red days follow the rules, right, then there's nothing you can really do about that. But what I noticed is I went through a few of my red days from this month and they did not. I definitely had some trades that I took where I was not in complete alignment with the cams. There was a couple of trades that I took where the buying and selling detector, or the volume, the VPA, which I use the buying and selling detector to do now what I normally do with my eyes, just reading candles, right? Where we were clearly buying, but we were not exhausting, and I was still trying to play short a level. You know what I mean? So things that would have normally kept me out from taking trades, I wasn't doing that. I think maybe some of that for me had to do on how strong my prior month was. In February, the first week, I had 2 or 3 amazing trades in there. I mean, I made all of February in like my first 2 or 3 days. So, and I think maybe that's why I'm not so bothered about this. I mean, because there are not a lot of traders you're going to be able to work with that have been retail trading for the better part of a decade, right? Most of the time when traders get to my level in time, they stop teaching, right? Like I'm actually very surprised Andrew is still doing what Andrew does. Like I'm, I mean, he has $10 million and he has the ability to make 6,000, 5,000, $10,000 a day. Most traders, when they reach that level, they disappear. You know what I mean? Like there's just no need. I could be on a very large boat right now. You know what I mean? Like doing very little work. Bear Bull Traders doesn't, I actually do what I'm doing now because I really love what I do. Like I really enjoy, like I feel like this is my altruistic purpose. Like it's really my desire to unshackle as many people. And I kind of have this weird I have this weird thing where I feel like I was misled in trading. Like I feel like when I first came into trading, I think there was a lot of hype and BS out there. And I really feel like I'm trying in my way to try and un to shift the what like Dr. V talks about, shift the paradigm of what it means to be a retail trader. Because I think a lot of us as we came into trading and retail trading, I think we oh nice. APLD, huh? Do we need to add this to the watch list or what? Look at that. I mean, beautiful. I mean, see here, we were just barely, we were selling. The first time we hit the level, we were selling. We would have called this one wink. Then we offered back in. You could just barely buy when you got into the level. And then I mean, that's fun. Good for you. I gotta change something though. I don't think this long call should happen. If we've hit the top level on a narrow range, we should not go back inside. So we should not call this. Cool though. Oh, look. It's still going it's back to going my direction. Let's see what happens. So I'm gonna go out. So I'll go out now. I have this copied. So remember, this is on all of my accounts right now. So even if I only make 500 on this, I'm still gonna make like 2,500 bucks. Right? So you can see here, like I'm really not, I really just want to give this one a chance. You know what I mean? So I'm even willing to maybe take a little bit less profit than I would like to take just to give this one a chance to see if this is the one like that really, really cooks for me. You know what I mean? So this could be it. I was thinking about taking like 10 contracts off at S6, but it never hit S6. But look at that volume on the buy there, though. Why this level? So let me show you. Sorry, this is one of those weird autistic things. No, so you can see where we pulled back here, and then we had this wick. Hold on, let me zoom in on this guy. See how we had this wick here and bounce? There had to have been something sitting right here, right? It's like a really high value area. You can see there is we went below here, we wicked it, we tested it, we came off of it, and then we wicked it, and then we sold through it, offered it, and then sold down. We should not go back above that offer ever again. If we do, then it's next. That will go back into this range, so we will likely go all the way back up to here at that point. So this is kind of like a place where it's just like a line in the sand that I structurally within the chart, I'm not willing to give this back. Right? So this is another, so this is a range, right? And this range is about, from this high to this low. So you can actually like hold on. Yoink. See? I can draw Fibonacci in my head, right? So because I'm autistic. But so you can see here, like, so as we come here, see how we come right back up to the 50% retracement. But that's not the one that kills you. It's this one up here, right? So I wanted to kind of get up away from this value. Like I want to really claim and move up. At that point, I'm just giving too much back structurally on this day. But look how we bounce right off the midline right there, then right off the midline, into the midline and down, test it, and then back, right? So I don't want to give that portion of it back. If we do, it's just, and at that point too, there's just not enough time left in the day either. But if you once you've been trading for, over, for a little bit of time like I have, and you've seen as many charts, it's kind of like why I don't use the order book very much anymore. I think the order book is a really, really important tool that everyone should use. I just don't use it because I don't need to. Like when I look at charts, I can tell you what the order book looks like because that's why the chart looks the way the chart looks. So there's a lot of things in the market that are very correlative. The data is all the same. It just depends on how you want to get to it. Like someone was going along on Tesla while I was on YouTube, right? So and I pulled up and I said, well, the ES's structure right now looks very weak, right? NQ's structure looks weak, right? And Tesla's structure looks weak. And I'm like, so I probably wouldn't be long right now. Right. And then the person's like, oh yeah, that's a good point. And I think they had puts and then they got rid of them. And then right after they got rid of them, I think it was right about here, right after they got rid of them, it went meow and then it pulled back and everyone goes, oh, look, it's coming back. And I said, it's not coming back. It's a pullback. And then meow, meow. This is the market structure. Right? It doesn't matter what lines you draw wherever you draw them. If the market structure is weak, that means we're selling. You should find a way to sell. Right? So like today, even on ES and NQ, like they were, they where is it at? Dadgummit. Oh yeah. Um, pull this one. Come on, MBT. We're doing this thing. ES. So now you can see on ES here, right? We were at S4 on a lower, wider range and we opened under. I was playing around with the BSD detector on this and trying some fun stuff with it. So not very well done either. And so you could see here that we were buying this entire time up here. It's not till right here that we show weakness. Even there when we buy, we exhaust, but we're not like exhaustive, right? So this is just crazy choppy action, right? What do you make of the MBT BSD never selling? It's been selling all here, right? They also spoof. They do spoof. You know what I mean? That's the thing, like with the book. You know what I mean? So like for the book for me, I just use for structure. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't mean it's gonna go down. It just means it's heavy. You know what I mean? There's more structure there. But I mean, this looks like it's gonna go down. Like there's like nothing to the top side right here. So I mean, if I was a betting man on Tesla, I'd be shorted. I wish I had an MBT book like in my life. That would be fun. But so yeah, it's I don't know, my ADHD kit kicked into play. I have a perfect example of you from today. Check from you today. Check NQ September high. Look at BSD. Okay, I'm in. September high. November, October, September's high. That's that, right? September's high. Did I grab the wrong thing? I mean, this is September. Oh, yeah, no? Maybe this one? That would be August. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have a screenshot, Alex, of like of yours so I can see it? Because maybe I'm doing it wrong. What are you showing me there, Dennis? Oh, nice. Thank you. Oh, good old Thinkorswim. I miss these sometimes. My little cheat map. I think we just started selling a little bit more again. Look at this. We got an order at 65, 100. Let me bring my other one back up. I don't like leaving this one up here because I get too focused on this part. You know what I mean? I think I can take that. Oh, whoops. Can I take that off too? No, I need to leave that on. Just don't look at it. So I think I can do points actually. Hold on. Ticks. Ticks. Thinkorswim's wild, man. I don't know. It's not a thing. Oh yeah, there we go. Hey, that looks more impressive that way. I got 130 ticks on MBT with 15 contracts. Like, what? Is that $600? Oh yeah, you're just saying it. Okay. So, okay. Questions, thoughts? I'm here for you guys. We can talk more. You want to talk more buying and selling detector?
I got a quick question, Thor.
Hit me.
Um, should we wait? Like you're protecting your position now. Obviously, you've moved your stop into where you're gonna be profitable, and you did it like kind of once we broke like the IB range and got some significant movement. Is that kind of when we should be thinking about protecting? Like, hey, we've gotten enough
Yeah.
movement in our direction now.
Yeah, so for me, I'm trying to find, that's a great question. So for me, I'm trying to like find this balance between, so because one thing is this is like a range trade, right? So technically, in a way, I should just leave the damn thing all day and just take whatever I take. And I've actually thought about running my metrics about what if I just never took positions off after I entered them until the end of the day. So, and just see would that actually work? Like if I just waited till like, on average 15 minutes into the close and then just close them out, or 1 minute before the close, just close them out every day. I did that kind of blindly, and I actually found a couple of days where I would have made so much money on 2 or 3 days out of the year doing that. Because we basically opened at the high and closed at the low on NQ after it ran 800 points. That if I'd have just, off of a cam call, if I'd have just hung on to that thing, it would have been like incredible. So the thing that is always difficult is trying to find out what the right blend is there. So, but I have to, like, this morning I was really kind of thinking about it a little bit, and I really have to try and stay true to myself here, which is I am not a momentum trader or a directional trader at all. I'm a range trader. Like I'm more like an intraday swing trader, right? I use zero pre-market prep. I really don't focus too much on fundamentals or directional bias or any of those things. I just wait for these things to get into the right place, and if they look like it's the right thing to do, I get in a position and see what happens. It's in my own way, it's simple, although I know it's not so simple, right? So it's like I'm trying to find out a way to, because for me, all I did was got in one position today, and I've just been sitting in that one position all day. So now one of the things I've been working around though is it's maybe like I think that the term kind of being like a soul tax, Hanson, maybe. Like at what point, do I just need to make sure I make enough money to like cover this day and just call it done? So I don't know if that's going to be like I've been exploring like the idea. I hate the idea of using dollar amounts because that's so arbitrary. So I've been trying to, so for me, I think, I've even thought about using, a retracement level or something like that. But again, every time I do that, like what if this had come up and stopped me out? Look how freaking close that got to stopping me out. What if that had stopped me out and then moved back down to here? I would have been so annoyed by that. And I would have been like, well, why didn't I just leave it at break even? Or why didn't I just leave it above the high of day? Like, what if this now rallies and stops me out? Is that a big deal at this point? Like, not really. I think one of the reasons I had to start looking at this too is I started running into I'm going to work on getting rid of my funded accounts. So I'm going to start trying to take my payouts and opening multiple brokerages instead. where they're actually my own personal brokerages, because I'm starting to find dealing with like trailing thresholds and stuff like that on these accounts too cumbersome as I've gotten bigger in size. I have times where I want to let this pull back $3,000 and I can't be tripping out, some kind of a thing just because I'm letting it run the range that day. So I'm trying. So I mean, I've already got 3 personal accounts, so I'm going to try and I know of a couple of other vendors that I'm going to be looking into to try and I'm going to basically create my own armada. It sucks because it's going to lower my spending cash a little bit because I'm going to have to take some of this fun money I've made lately and it's going to have to go to that process. But I think for business security for the future, I think it's a really good idea. So, because, oh, yeah, I like Julian says, I like the idea of Hansen using IB for time to move the stop loss. Like, since we've broken the IB low, we could move to break even, basically, at least, or something like that.
I mean, it's hard to say.
We didn't break the IB high, that's for
Yeah.
sure, and then broke the IB low.
So I mean,
There's almost
it,
no chance. See, but the thing is with it breaking the IB low, this is one you leave alone,
yeah,
right? Because
exactly.
if it at because you know what I'm saying? Because it broke the IB low, the statistic, like let's actually check that. I don't know if I've ever checked it on Micro Bitcoin.
Another thing to note, and I put this in the chat earlier, is that the Jane Street algo, which was the one causing the 10 a.m. slams in Bitcoin, got sued last week, and we haven't been having the same slams we used to. So I'm wondering if we're reacting better to the cam now than we used to because that algo is
Oh,
not as active.
that's interesting to think. Tell me more about that algo.
So, like, I don't know. I mean, Oz and I were talking about in the chat, like, we used to always have these 10 a.m. slams on crypto out of nowhere. And it was being caused by a firm called Jane Street. And they got sued last week. And since they got sued, the 10 a.m. slams, like, either haven't been happening or been a lot more muted. So I think they've, like, are cutting back their algo activation. Because, like,
Wow,
even today, like, I would, like, you can see, like, we didn't slam at 10 a.m., we slammed at 11.
that's interesting. So yeah, so for instance, like right now with a single break on MBT, 76% chance, only 20% chance of a double break, right? So we have a very little chance that this thing comes all the way back up and stops me out. So it's like one of those ones where now if we had been stuck for a very long time and we had not broken the IB low, maybe in this instance we're more sensitive because it's more likely that, the chances that MBT does not break the IB is only like 5%, right? So if it had been like if you were in here, but once we break the low or break the high, I mean, I don't know. I always, like I said, I go back and forth on this a lot. Like, when is it a good idea to move to break even versus just letting these cook? And I think, the thing is the later we go in the day, I feel like that decay of time is more the answer to that than anything else. If this comes all the way back up to here, there's not enough time left in the day for me to expect a movement from here all the way back down to here. So, and I used to call this the if it goes, it goes rule, which is we are at a point where we've been consolidating and even lightly buying, right, for, damn near 2 hours now. So at some point in time, and that's why I had made that decision, as well, if it buys back up through this area right here, well, then this thing's probably going to come all the way back up to here. So, and that's what I think, that's why I did that. But if it comes up to here, does it stop me out or not? Probably not, right? I probably just don't make a lot of money on it, right? So, and that's that fine line we ride back and forth. And, I'm working on finding a better and better answer for it.
So Thor, that you and Hanson were talking about IB and that other that you were pulling up, can you define
Yep.
IB and
Oh yeah, that's true. So the initial balance range or the IBR, is, where is the picture? They normally have a little picture on. There it is. All right. So in your first, so this right here is the start of the day, right? And then this is your high of day for the first hour. So your high of day for your first hour. And this is like your low of day. So your initial balance range is your 1 hour high and low after it opens. So whatever the high is before at or before 10:30 or the low at or before 10:30. And that creates your initial balance range. Now, when you break your IB high, right? So you pierce the top of that 60-minute candle basically. When you pierce the top of that, that is going to be that's a break of the IB high. Now, on most tickers, if you break that IB high, you're going to close on this side of the chart 3/4 of the time. So this is why if you're playing a double top, for instance, if you want that double top to be one that goes like this, right? You do not want to break that high after 10:30. If you do, it's more likely going to be a breakout. You're just going to get trapped trying to top it. Right? So if you're going to play like a mountain pass or like a head and shoulders, right, which is like a topping pattern that looks like that, this needs to happen before 10:30. If it happens after 10:30, you don't play head and shoulders is after 10:30. Because the topping head means you're most likely going to go like this and just chop around and go up. They don't really work. So one of the reasons it took me a long time to learn why I used to hear this old rule, like you don't take head and shoulders after 10:30, and I never really knew why that was. But now that I know what this means, it makes total sense now. So initial balance double break would be like this, right? So it creates that 1 hour low, it breaks the IB high, but then it sells through and breaks the low. Right. So that and what I was showing you on like micro Bitcoin, for instance, right, is we have a single break. So we break either the top or the bottom and then stay on that side over 3/4 of the time. Right. So on this position, like I'm okay with holding this position because since we broke the IB low, right, we've consolidated and then moved down on the vast majority of tickers, that will not result in a reversal to come. At least not one that will come back through high of day. So I'm not safe by any means. That would imply something outside of what's going on here. But statistically, this is a fairly nice spot to roll my dice. You know what I mean? Because it's only 1/4 of the time you've had this break, it will come back up and go through it. And this didn't reverse easily. This came all the way down to lows. It's more likely we close low on the day. Plus, this is a lower narrow range. So it's an outside day, right? So I don't expect to come back into the range today either. This is an outside day. We should run out our ATR low at some point in time. Now, we don't have enough volume, so maybe we don't do that. But I'm still, we still have, it's 1:30. There's still 2 hours left in the market. Maybe this thing gets down to S6 or a little lower. The only thing, so that's why the reoffer of R3 short always a little lower. Ideally, if it's going to be before after 10:30, Ash K, for sure. Right? If it happens, if you have a top at R3 and then it goes down and then comes back up it's after 10:30 that it comes back up, you don't want it to break the high. If it breaks the high, that's going to lower your statistics significantly, right? You're going to go from 3/4 to 1/4. That's a big shift in statistics based upon a high or not a high, but it's true, right? So that's why we factor these in, right? So when I trade, the CAM system is based completely, the CAM system isn't like arbitrary information that I come up with. This is the entire system, the sweeping nature of the system and the way it calls is all based upon these kind of stats, right, that we've run to come up with, which times if we go to R3, then we go to S3. We want to go to R3 first. We don't want to go to S3, then back to R3 because you have to break high of day to get to R3, right? So that R3 is no longer valid if you sweep down and then sweep back up because you have to break high of day to get to R3, so it kills it, right? So if you follow the CAM system, most of these stats are actually built into the CAM system. So, boy, I had a beep. So anyway, although it looks like this thing, today, now as we talk, you'll see it do it like the 1/4 of the time. I did have an AMD trade that I held like a few months ago. It was like maybe a half a year ago. And then the damn thing came I mean, it retraced like 140% and double broke. And I was on YouTube when it happened. And let's just say I was not happy. I mean, it was great that I did what I was supposed to do, but I was not happy that it totally embarrassed me on YouTube in front of everybody. I'm like, damn you, IB stats. But again, it happens 1/4 of the time. So, what are you gonna do? Sup, Hanson?
Quick question on that. So, I mean, it really helped the NBT call when it went back for high a day and it couldn't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like because I was already stopped out. Like I took profit too early. Like that would have been even a better entry after that failed breakout and coming
yeah.
back and waiting for the selling to come in.
Well, that's the thing. It failed, right? And then when it failed, the response was selling, and then it pulled back, but it stayed with steady selling as it pulled back. So the ideal entry would have been right here. You could have gotten short here through your stop above R3 or all the way above the top of the box. Right? And again, with this concept, I do want to try and move a little bit away from just the blanket concept of we got to get 3R, 4R, 8R, 20R. I just want to get all the R that are available for us to get in that moment. You know what I mean? So it's like, maybe I get, this was definitely a 4R move. So I'm probably going for more like 8R here or 7R or whatever, but I'm not really thinking about the R. I don't even really know how many R it is. I just know this is where ATR low is and it's a narrow day. So I'm going to give it the chance to expand today. And who knows? I mean, this thing, it moved from 11:45 to 12:45 in 1 hour. It made this entire movement. It could definitely go from here all the way down to here in 2 hours. Right? So MBT has the nature of being very, very annoyingly not moving. And then it just goes, wow, and then stops and becomes annoyingly not moving again. Right. So this is totally something that can happen. And you can see we've been lightly buying for quite a while and we have not gone up in price. So this would kind of insinuate that we are maybe even distributing a little bit, right? Because the market, we're seeing buy volume, but we're not seeing positive movement. Right. So that's also something to factor in here. I guess the thing is the IB break stat means it's less likely to come for a double break, but after the break, it's still hard to know when to exit. Yeah, exactly, Alex. All that does is give you a statistical direction. Now, this is one of the things that's, again, I am like, how do I say this right? I have always been the truest of range traders once I developed my range system. I used to just go for 4-to-1s, which is why I had a really high hit rate, right? Like I would be out of this trade if I'd have just went for a 4-to-1. That happened. So this trade's a successful call, no matter what happens. This one definitely hit target, because all of my efficacy is based upon whether or not it got at least 4R worth of movement. Right. So, because, I call it reasonable profitability. You know what I mean? As long as it's moved 2 or 3R, 4R in the right direction after a call, I consider that to be reasonable profitability. You know what I mean? So, not every call is going to make, but what I have noticed is although I've gone away from the 4R, which at times gives me a little less, going away from 4R at times gives me significantly more. Right. So it's a hard balance in the beginning while you're working on entry technique. I wouldn't worry so much about the profitability side. I would just worry about, do you get, go for 3R, go for 4R. It's fine. Build your confidence. But over time, for me, the idea, again, I want to show up, I want to show up like a half hour before the market opens. I want to, kind of get a general idea of what's going on with the news. Right. I want a general idea of what's going on with the structure of the day, right? If we have some kind of really big news event coming out at 10, maybe we don't even trade till after 10, right? Because what's the point of getting into a position now just to have to reevaluate it 30 minutes from now? So I would rather just let the news happen, especially for those of us trading futures, because they're index futures. We're going to wait for the news anyway. So, so maybe news is at 2 o'clock. So we know the market's going to be really choppy. Like we need to know what's going on in the day because we're day traders. right? It's good to know what the overall like market sentiment is and things like that, because this helps us understand right now we know the market is not particularly happy, right? So, but are we not particularly happy? Because our market sure is like still at like all-time highs as compared to like a half a year ago. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't say the market's happy, but it's not sad either. You know what I mean? It's fine. So we're still waiting for something on this market, and whatever it is, I have no idea. But I know it hasn't happened yet, right? When you look at the market and you look at a longer term time frame like the monthly, right? The market has been quite indecisive for quite a few months now. Now, that is not that this could be, March Madness could be a thing in the stock market. The last time we were at this level, right? This, above 23,000 on NQ, for instance, we had a really hard sell and it got absorbed, right? So, which was good, which was okay, but that was a hard sell. If we get back down around this range again, we'll sell again. So if we start to sell at any point in the next couple of, if we have a really hard sell month, we could have 2 or 3 months of really hard selling. And everyone will talk about it being like a bear market and it's so crazy. But what you'll notice if you zoom out, you know what I mean? Let's like maybe we do Qs. You know what I mean? Like, look at this market. It's insane, right? We have a lot of give back here, right? Yeah, why buy and hold investing works. Facts, right? But this is why the cams aren't, well, not the cams. This is why we're not getting the big trades right now, because we're in the bottom of the month and we're near support. See, let me get rid of this here. Let me get rid of stuff I had marked the other day, I guess. Look, we're in the low end of these very condensed candles, but look at this as we're moving lower on QQQ. Anybody see what I'm seeing? I mean, we're picking up volume to the sell, right? So we've had more volume on this candle than we had on this engulfing, and so this is going to be really interesting, right? If we start pushing much lower with this kind of volume, maybe especially if we start to lose this low, so that would be October's low, right? That could be a really big deal, right? Because after October's low, we get a gap down to the open of September. We have a really big distance there. But after that, we had quite a few months of some very strong trending. And really, if you're looking at a monthly, I mean, if you went off of this dip candle here, I mean, we're not doing so hot right now. So I think for those of us who are frustrated, I really wanted to talk about that, because don't be so frustrated. If you're a surfer and there are no waves, you can't be frustrated about your ability to surf, right? This is a wave problem, not a surfer problem. And right now we're having a wave problem. We're not getting big sweeping moves. So this is why trending may be a good idea for short-term moves. It's just not my style. I can't do it. I suck at it. I'm sorry. I wish I was. My God, I wish I was. There are so many times when I've tried to develop the ability to do it, and some people just seem to have the gift. For me, I can use them, but they never seem to work for me the way they work for other people. Like Dr. V, hers are fucking magic. I mean, it's so amazing. And then I try and draw them and she's like, no, 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 it's right here. I'm like, I'm a smart person. I should be able to get this. But they're perfect. I just can't get it. So how's everyone else's day going? NT, how are you doing, buddy? Are you sleeping?
I'm just slowly watching MBT.
Not do
Also,
anything?
I saw that moment where it reached a lot of volume and it was close to S6, but I said it really looked like a pivot point, but I said we're gonna let it run and see what happens. So haven't even touched my stuff yet. It's a it's a big debate I also have, you know, when to move it to break even or when to move it to
Yeah.
profit.
The rule I was trying to come up with was if we start buying, you know what I mean? But by the time that happened, we were way too high. It's just kind of like, meh. I'm with you, man. I still haven't come up with like
no,
an amazing. This is, I think, what made 4-to-1s easier was because it was just like a target of price. So I would hit
that
4-to-1 and I'd be out, and then it really wouldn't matter if it pulled back or not.
that's what I was gonna say. I try to get away from that. And like the PL trade that I had last week, I think it was like almost like a 3-to-1, you know. And I got out and I didn't have a reason to go out, and I even felt bad about it. So that's the difficult
Yeah.
thing, you know. Do you just do 4-to-1s or do you let it run? You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
Still thinking.
For me, it's this battle too with like what my objective is too. Like I really am not looking to become like an institutional trader. You know what I mean? Like someone who spends like 8 hours a day, like sitting at a desk, like looking for really good trade opportunities and then taking trades and doing this and doing that. I really just want to kind of, just get in here, throw a trade on, put my bracket on, and then walk away. And whether it works or not, whatever. So
Okay.
so whenever I start thinking about active management, that becomes the issue. And for me, it's like, yeah, because if I went back in time and for all my trades that I took at 4R, I had lost half of those, but of my winners, I had just held them for like the whole day. I mean, I would have made so much more money so much faster. It's just like, I like January, I made enough money in January for my whole year. I mean, it doesn't even matter. Right. So,
Right.
but in December, I made enough money in December to cover my prior year. Right. But there were lots of gaps in all those directions. It's very interesting that way. But like February, I had 2 trading days in the beginning of February that basically made my February. And since then, it's been, you know, it has not been amazing. But I mean, the Netflix trade I got yesterday wasn't bad. It was a good call. And then the trade I took on this MBT is lovely. I'm really
You,
enjoying this
you
trade.
know, I think this is really the part of it that is art. Like
Yeah.
the BSD is not the RSI because the BSD is more art to read it, you know, is more open to interpretation.
Hopefully not
Um,
forever. I'm trying to standardize it.
yeah, no, but there are some, even though it would be like nice to be everything mechanical, some things sometimes
Yeah.
are not,
Yeah,
are not, you
exactly.
know.
No, it's
And I
like
think,
BPA itself is kind of like that art, right? Reading absorption in the market and then being able to do something with
right,
it, which is like, for instance, I liked on MBT that we were buying, but we weren't going up, right? So for
right,
me, that seems like we're distributing. You know what I mean? Because we have buy volume, but we're not increasing our price. We're not making new highs of days. So like I would expect on sometimes on a chart like this, it would look like the chart would look something like this.
right.
It would be
Exactly,
going up when it
exactly,
looks steadily
exactly.
buying like that. But instead, we're steadily buying, but our price is moving laterally. So it's like so it doesn't really look like we're advancing. But if I'd have waited, and I could have saved myself some suffering, my friend, if I'd have waited for this thing to actually like sell and then offer, I would have been like right there.
Right there.
And I mean, there we are selling because we're under the gray line. So basically, maybe I review the terms on this because I've been coming up with new terms. I worked with a couple mentees yesterday, and I worked with a couple people today, and I'm trying to come up with terms that like make sense, kind of like Dr. V style, right? I'm trying not to say this is offering or premium and all this
Hmm.
stuff. I'm just trying to so anything inside the gray box is light, whatever. Right. So if you're above zero, you're buying across the entire thing. If you're above zero, you're buying. If you're below zero, you're selling.
Hmm.
Right. Anytime inside the gray is light. Right. If you go below the gray, this is steady volume. Right. I think that's easy. Below this pink one is heavy volume. And below this one is exhaustive volume.
Exhaustion.
Or you could say stopping, but exhausting volume. Right. And this goes both directions. L, S, H, and E. Or extreme, exhausting, whatever, evaporating. No, lots of E words that mean stuff like that. That's kind of fun. So light, steady, heavy, exhausting, right? So when you're looking at this right now, if you're going to go short, you would like to be steadily selling, right? That would be the ideal thing. So you can see here we dropped and then we pulled back into the range. And as we pulled back in, we had steady selling. So this was when everything kind of aligned for the short was right there. Bing. Ooh, look, selling. Yay. Let's go. More ticks, more ticks, more ticks. So that worked right. That worked really, really well. So in order to go short, you want one of two scenarios. You want to either be steady selling or you want to be exhausting buyers, right? So you're going to be either exhaustive buying or steady selling are the two conditions in which you would like to be getting short. So and as long, so if that blue line is here, or if that blue line is up over here, then you can play down.
So with that logic, though, we should have stayed out of the first entering
Yeah.
BT early on that logic.
Yeah, we should not have got until here.
Okay, I like that.
You know, because at the beginning we were lightly buying. You could have actually maybe said, "Hey, we started selling right there."
There was one moment, yeah.
So as it pulled back, you could have potentially went short here and stuck your stop above the box. But I mean, a lot of us would probably be like, "Oh God, that's a wide stop," you know. So it would have been like, maybe I wait and see if it gets higher. But here we almost broke the high, but we didn't, which was nice. And then big sell, and that should have grabbed our attention. That's like a big market middle finger right there. You know what I mean? That's one that really should have gotten our attention. And we should have said, oh yeah, selling. There it is. Yeah, Alex, like big volume. You know what I mean? There's our seller. We've been, what are you waiting for? I'm waiting for a seller. Where are they? There they are. You know what I mean? There's our seller. Pow. Right. And also the fact that we tried to buy, but when we bought, we couldn't sustain, we just kind of came back to steady buying. But again, this is the artistic part. Sorry, Inti. Then you come back here and we have steady buying, but as we have steady buying, we're not actually like advancing price. We're actually like consolidating on steady buying. So I would expect with steady buying, we would be going up. So would I trade off of that? Maybe not as much, but it certainly is supportive of what we had going on. Okay, I still like being short here because even though we had started buying, we weren't moving up. But if we saw that guy, boom, and then as it pulls back up to offer the level, we stay steady selling. Yeah, now we're talking. We're going short while we have steady selling. And that's when we get our move. Ooh. So you're saying there's a chance. Look at that. See what I mean? See what I mean on Bitcoin? Look how this thing can just like within just like a couple of minutes just change its mind and go womp and just start doing. That's why I don't like to smother this one. Actually, with futures, that's been kind of a thing for me lately. I really don't like smothering them because I always, it just ooh, that is so okay. So now are we going to move into selling here? If we do, this could be our thing. Can we run out ETR low? We shall see. So just kind of a little bit of an example there. So now how I read this is now that we've moved lower, we're actually moving into what I would consider to be pretty steady selling again. Right. So for me, I'm very happy to still be in this position now because now it's showing me that it tried to buy. As it tried to buy again, we had light buying, but as we had light buying, we could not advance in price. Right. We just got stuck. So, and then now we're selling. But so when you see buying and no price advancement, then that probably means we're distributing. And if you see selling, look, when we sell, we go to the book, right? We're going down. And now we're actually in steady selling. That could be fun. Oh, I wish we had another hour to hang out. I would just keep this thing going and we could just hang out and trade together and just keep an eye on it. I really miss you guys, by the way. I don't know if I said this while I have a few minutes. Like Vegas sucks without you guys. Like, because I was so distracted and having to run around like a trained effing monkey, like saving the fucking world. Like Andrew's plane didn't make it in, so I'm coordinating a live stream for him now and then taking questions like I've climbed mountains or something. And like, I mean, I felt like Hugh Jackman on This Is the Greatest Show, man, including the singing and the dancing. I was just so, and I was just like, man, I miss my people. I'm like, I just want to shut this shit down, just go hang out in my room. I mean, thank God Dennis was there and like Tyler was there, and we did have a couple of MAs there, and it was really fun when we all met up the next morning too and just hung out together. I mean, that was way funner. But I was like, damn, man, can I get back onto the East Coast already? And can I do this already? I mean, it's just like, Jesus, you know? Like, come on. Like, totally miss you guys.
Thor, I like Vahid's question in the chat. I did notice that as well this morning, where it just kind of like whiplashed back and forth. Do you have any thoughts on that?
1 second. All right, say it again.
So Vahid's got a question in the chat that I thought was a good one here that talks about. I noticed this on a couple of tickers where the your buying selling detector, it'll like whip from one extreme of exhaustion clear back up to the other extreme exhaustion almost within, minutes. What are your thoughts there?
No, so and that happens, right? So there are times, but that is still exhaustive. So like what'll happen a lot, like, oh, ooh, let me show you. Netflix. Oh wait, let me use my other one so I can just leave this one on the other thing and keep a side eye on it. Netflix. Look at the open. Right? Right at the open, it was already overclocked in the pre-market. It immediately sold all the way down. You know how many people probably wanted to get short on this thing, momentum style right here? But if you were looking at the BSD, you had already went top to bottom. You were going to exhaust you're exhausting your sellers. Right? So you would actually play long here because you've exhausted your sellers. And look, once it came off that isolated pivot, this thing's been a straight long the entire day until we got up here. Right? Once we got up here, we exhausted our buyers, right? We're in exhaustion zone. So you can see it fell and it pushed back up and it's just chopping up here, right? Boom, chopping up here. It's making higher highs, but we're exhausting. So I would expect a big fall to come pretty soon. And then sure enough, she starts to sell, right? But again, this sell here was actually too aggressive, right? Exhausted it. So it pulled all the way back up, but now it's getting into steady selling. And this is really what you want. It's kind of like your car. You know what I mean? Like not enough gas. It doesn't move. Too much gas, you're going to blow your engine. You know what I mean? So what this lets you see is when the market is that steady volume area is like the sweet spot. As long as we are within the steady volume, like in here, we should expect consistent directional movement. As soon as we push up into this area, this is that heavier buying area. So you're going to start topping when you get near your heavier buying. Right? So it doesn't mean you're reversing. You want it to exhaust before you start reversing. And then you need, your signal. You need a sell signal. So you can see we're exhausting. There's a pretty good sell signal, but it doesn't sell. Comes all the way back up, exhaust, boom, sell signal right there. We make the new low below the -10, right? So that's the first good sell is probably right around in here. Now, what I mean is, right off a monthly R6. These freaking monthlies. I think because our range is so healthy. Yeah, healthy, right? Healthy is fun. Healthy selling. Steady. You like healthy better than steady? Okay. We got hands up on it, so I guess that's a yes. Healthy. Unhealthy. So light. Yeah. Exhausting. Yeah. So, all right, peeps. It's 2. I'm gonna take off. Any other questions? Just always shoot me a DM or I'm going to get caught up on a few this afternoon. But otherwise, I will look forward to seeing you all on later. So I will talk to you later. People have a great weekend. and we'll be back on for the fun later. Talk to you soon.